Welcome to another edition of Republican Stronghold. We're here in Bastrop County, and today we are with Larry Nance, who is running for Senate District 5 in the state of Texas. Welcome, Larry. We're happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Appreciate you inviting me.
Well, you're very welcome. So the first question is obviously, why are you running? What brought you to the point that you wanted to run for the Texas Senate?
Well, it's very simple. I've spent the last couple years trying to get an appointment with Charles Schwarzer to bring up some issues that impact our citizens. And it was always the answer, I'm too busy, my surgery schedule doesn't allow it, don't have it. So I figured we need to have some help for our families. So I said, if I can't speak to my senator, I'm going to run so that the people can speak to me as the senator. And I'm planning to help set that up so everybody has an opportunity to visit with their senator. I'm going to set up some focus groups around the district every quarter so people can visit with me. And I'm running because I want to help people cut their taxes. I think our taxes are way too hard. Our property taxes are way too hard. I think the system is wrong, the way we have the appraisal system set up. And I want to change how that appraisal system works so that the people have a chance and their property owners have a chance, fair chance, at adjusting and fighting for their property rights.
And actually owning their own property.
But you have to factor in, if you don't own your property, the people that you're borrowing, renting your home from have property taxes.
That's correct.
And as their taxes go up, so does your rent. So property taxes impact every family that lives in any type of a dwelling.
That's correct.
Because they have to worry about taxes.
You know, I owned a piece of property, a small lot with a house on it in Austin, and my daughter rented for me. And after about 4 or 5 years, it was the only rental property I had.
Yes.
I said to her, you know, my mortgage hasn't gone up. I think my insurance has gone up by $5. You know what's going up? What's going up are my property taxes.
That's right.
And it's my daughter, but I still said I'm not a charity. I mean, I don't need to make money on you, but I got to cover my costs. And that's why your rent has to go up, because property taxes are going up. And what I always found ironic about that is the rental price, because eventually she moved out and others moved in. The rental price would have qualified for moderate income housing. And yet the city of Austin is spending money to build low and moderate income housing, which when they take that property tax burden because of their spending and put it on somebody like I was, all of a sudden my home wasn't a moderate income house anymore. And that was merely to cover the costs. So, you know, I use that when I talk to people about property taxes, that is an absolute prime example of what happens when government spend too much. So let's take a deep dive. I'm interested in the, as I'm sure our viewers are, in the appraisal district. So what would you propose to deal with appraisal districts?
Well, that's a good question, because nobody in the district that's running this race understands the problem. The problem is the appraisal district is set up of 8 people. 5 of those people are appointed by the taxing entity that taxes you, raises your taxes. And 3 of them are voted on by the people.
And that's new, correct?
That's new.
That's brand new.
But it should have been equal. So it should be half and half. And that's what I want to change, is that it's half and half, so that the appraisal people don't have an upper hand, because they're the taxing entity that they have a vested interest to raise your taxes. And that's the way they get you on taxes, because they get away with not raising your taxes, but then they raise the appraised value so that you end up paying more without having a tax raise. You pay more because they've raised the appraisal. And so what I want to do is fix that as well, because I want to cap the amount that they can do each time they assess your property to no more than 5%.
Isn't it 10 now?
It's 10 now.
10 now.
It's 10 now, but it needs to be 5%. But it also needs to be maximum, that they can't do it any oftener than 4 years. This business of raising your appraised value every year is not fair. because the people that are doing it, they're the ones that got the edge, and they're the ones that want to increase your taxes.
So are you suggesting that all properties get reappraised every 4 years?
No, maximum, or no more than every 4 years.
No more than every 4. So
No
they
more than
could,
every
if you put an addition on your house, it could be something less than that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm curious about that because I came from a state where we didn't have an appraisal district. We had a tax assessor collector, one person, with a small staff. And when you went out to reassess all of your properties, you did it all at once for the entire town, and you hired an outside company to do it. So you didn't have a building, you didn't have all the staff, you didn't have, you know, everything that goes with reassessing and reappraising properties every single year. And, you know, I think that aligns relatively closely with what, you know, Governor Abbott has proposed, is looking at not having to do this every single year, but over, you know, a course of time. And so is that where you're coming from on that
Absolutely.
as well?
I haven't studied Governor Abbott's proposals, but I agree with that 100%. We should not be doing this every year.
Right.
It's just, just wrong, and it's costly. Just, you bring up a good point about hiring all these people to do all these things, and that's what the government does. They pass one law, so you got to have more people to enforce that law. So you keep building the government, making the job self-serving, because
Right.
then they need you more, because you keep raising the cost of your taxes. The taxes go up because they keep spending money.
Right, right.
Not because they're cutting money. You know, have you ever seen a budget that they reduced the budget from last year, the last time they did a budget?
Well, actually, I sat on a town council that we did that once.
For a state.
No, for a town.
Yes.
For, you know, in
town.
In another state, but it was a town budget. If you get an email from me, you'll see at the bottom that it says, take care of the spending and the tax rate will take care of itself.
That's right.
And so I find that interesting because, you know, with what you're proposing, because there's a lot of money involved in employees, buildings, computer systems that have to be put in place for this appraisal system that we have now.
Yes.
Yeah. So what else besides the appraisal situation, which I think probably everybody that's listening to this would agree that something's got to be done with that. What are the other priorities that you would have? I'm interested in the one with communicating with the citizens and making yourself available.
Yeah, because I'm the only one that has really got a platform to try and help the people. And I think that the government, we as elected officials, work for the people. So you need to be accessible to the people. Just because you're elected doesn't mean you get to not visit with the people. So what I think we should do is set up focus groups without the district. Every quarter, have a focus group where the community can have an input into my staff as to what they feel like is important for the citizen. Not exactly what the state feels like is important for them, but what they feel like is important to them for the community. You know, the people in Jewett, Texas have a different feeling than the people in Georgetown, Texas.
Mm-hmm. So would you set those up more like an open town meeting, or would you set those up where, you know, this focus group, today we're going to discuss this issue, and have people come out who are interested, say in water, and you'd focus? I mean, when you say focus group, are you going to focus on a particular subject matter, or are you going to talk about leaving it wide open for people to just come in and say, this is what's on my mind?
What I would suggest is we've got within the district, every district actually, you've got a group already set up with organized, like yourself, Lost Pines Women Association. So you would get that group to get their people together and decide what they would like to work on, and then have that group bring it to the focus group. I mean, the focus group could still be a group of anybody that wants to attend, but if you narrow it down to, you're not going to be able to solve every problem every quarter, but you can focus on certain issues and let the people decide what they want to talk about, and then we'll work on that and take that back to Austin and try and solve that problem.
So you're talking more about like citizen subcommittees
Yes.
that would then give input. So you'd have that input from the citizen subcommittees around the district that you could then take to Austin.
Yes, the citizens are the ones that need to have the input, not the special interests.
Right.
You know, the special interests are supporting the other campaigns right now. And so I'm not being supported by any special interest. I want my people, my supporters are the people, and I want to help the people. And that's the only reason I'm running.
Well, there you go. So do you see as in Senate District 5, what do you see as the number 1, 2, and 3 issues? And we've talked about property taxes. That's obviously on everybody's mind. But what do you see as 3 other issues that if you held one of those meetings that you think people would be coming out and saying, you know, Larry, we really need some help with this?
Well, it's probably the growth be number one, is that I don't think they've properly planned for the growth. You know, I was chaired a planning commission in El Paso, and I definitely understand a little bit about planning, and I don't think there's been proper planning for the growth that we're facing. There's been a focus on bringing more business in, but there hasn't been any focus on how we're going to support that
Right.
with all the infrastructure that's needed.
So let me interrupt you there and ask you a question. I have worked with our current House member twice, 2 sessions,
Okay.
and we've put a bill together to provide, and it only, in that case, it was HD 17 on the Texas House side. It only applied to the counties in Texas House District 17, but it would allow the county commissioners to have planning authority and density management authority through citizen advisory committees. So, you know, I spent 8 years on a planning board. You've got that background. We'd probably be 2 would be perfect to go into,
Sure.
you know, that kind of a committee. But it would allow the counties to have that authority, because 97% of Bastrop County is unincorporated land.
Ooh.
And so 97%, because I've done these stats when I helped put that bill together, it dies, gets a bill number, goes through ledge council, gets to committee, and the committee chair doesn't hear it, because there's this whole thing about we don't want any density management, we don't want anybody to tell us what to do with our land, and as a result, you get what we're getting in Bastrop County, which is not enough infrastructure, no money assigned for infrastructure, growth that's completely out of control, and people living next door to a ranch or a farm that then gets sold, and they have absolutely no control over what goes next to them, and nor do the county commissioners. So if you're not within the city limits, you have no planning authority whatsoever. So let me ask you this question, because I have asked Senator Schwertner if he would carry the bill in the Senate. Would you carry a bill like that in the Senate in order to try to get it through both houses of the legislature?
I would, because that you're exactly right. It needs to be at the county. The people need to be the ones, not the state. You need to have some control over what's happening in the community that you live in.
Right.
Not controlled by the state. That's the whole purpose. You know, the people are the ones that need to have the control on their destiny.
Right, absolutely. And, you know, when I first met with our House member, Carol, you know, Texans don't want to be told what to do with their land. And I looked at him and I said, we're not telling any Texan what to do with their land. They want a ranch? Ranch. You want a farm? Farm. You know, you want to go out and build houses? Do it, but do it within the confines of what the citizens have said is appropriate for that particular parcel of property based on infrastructure, water, sewer, roads, you know, all of those impacts. And I said to him, actually, what we're doing is we're not telling the guy who owns it now what he can do with his property. It's the out-of-state developer that comes in, that buys that ranch, that buys that farm, because they know now they can do anything they want on it. And if they want to put 6, 7, 8 to the acre, there was a bill in the last legislature for 31 to the acre outside Houston, thinking that that would provide low-income housing. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But no, I join you in that, and getting a sponsor in the Senate has been a concern of mine personally. And I think when you talk to people, I know I've talked to other candidates and they go around just what you said. Number one issue, property taxes. Number two, growth.
Yep.
So let's talk about number 3 and 4.
All right, number 3 is one that people I don't think really understand fully, and that's credit reporting, credit scores. Yeah, we see our property, not only our property taxes going up, but our insurance rates going up, not only on our homes, but on our automobiles. And that happens because the insurance companies use your credit score. And if you take some family that's just starting and they don't understand the system real well, and they might bounce a check. Well, that bounced check goes on their record for a long time, and it ends up hurting their credit score. So people, and I don't have a dog in this fight because I've got the exceptional credit score. I've got a great credit score.
Right.
So I'm not fighting this issue for me. I'm fighting it for the young people and the people that end up making a mistake, and then it ends up staying on their credit report for an absorbent amount of time.
7 to 10 years, doesn't it? It's a long, yeah.
Ridiculous. And if you want to call up and check on insurance rates, then they're going to check your credit. When they do that, then it increases your credit score. They decrease it when you make an inquiry for insurance rates.
Right.
You want to call Allstate because you got State Farm. Well, then they're going to check you got to give them your Social Security number. They're going to check your credit, and your credit score is going down automatically. And there should not be any credit score allowed to use for insurance rates for anybody. If you wreck your car, it's going to cost the same amount to fix it as if you got a 400 credit score or an 800 credit score. It's still going to cost the same amount of money. So I want to eliminate credit scores being used for insurance rates, period.
Now, isn't there a way that they can, and you might have to do it by statute, that they can check your credit score without it impacting your credit score? I mean, sometimes on advertisements on TV, you hear, well, we're going to check your credit on this, but it's not going to impact your credit. So I'm wondering if through some kind of legislation, if that's possible.
Well, it's just like the checks in the mail, it won't, it's going to be there, but I'm telling you, it impacts your credit. It's absolutely possible.
Right.
I mean, they had a chance in this last legislation center to change that, but all they did is just modify the rules on how the credit companies can do it. Instead of eliminating it, they just modified the rules. So I want to eliminate it, period.
Period. Well, that's interesting because the appraised value of your house impacts, I guess it depends on how your insurance is written, but it impacts your deductible as well. So, and I think a lot of people don't realize that when the appraisal district takes your house from, say, $250,000 to $300,000, your deductible is going to go up because it's a percentage of the appraised value of your house, and then your credit score impacts it as well.
It's not so much the deductible goes up, it's the rate goes up because you've gone up to another level. And because they've appraised your property at a higher value, then you have to have more insurance. So it's a vicious circle. You raise your taxes, then you raise the appraisal rate, everything costs you money.
Right.
So that's why I'm the only one that's running that wants to help the people. My only goal in running is to make eliminate some of this legislation and improve the legislation so the people end up having a better life for themselves and their families. That's the only reason I'm running. I'm not interested in any special interest. I'm interested in the people, and that's it, period.
Right. Now, is there a fourth item? Because we talked about 3.
3, well, I guess,
those are all interconnected. It's interesting. I hope everybody who's listening realizes how all of these pieces are interconnected.
I don't want to undermine the fact that you still have to take care of all the other aspects of running the state, our security, our teachers, our law enforcement, the border. Those go without saying. I mean, I don't think, there's not any legislators not going to work and not running to help protect the people on that aspect.
Right.
But I'm not running to protect special interest. I'm running to help families.
Right.
So now, I know that I know we got issues on the border. I know we got some issues that people are worried about Sharia law, but we want to protect our people. You know, I'm a good Christian. I don't have any interest in promoting and helping Sharia law in any way.
Right, right. So all those other issues that we know are going to come up, you're going to get involved in those as well. There's no not getting involved,
Yes.
because you're going to have to cast votes on legislation that comes forward. And so we haven't talked at all about your background. So why don't you just give the folks who are listening a short little synopsis of your background, what
Okay.
pieces you think are going to help you in being a state senator, just so they have, you know, it's funny, I talked to a woman not long ago who said, you know, you write all these articles, I see all these articles about, I have 5 kids, I went to this school, I graduated from here, and she said to me, you know, I really don't care about any of that. I care about what they're going to do to help me get out of the hole I'm living in.
That's right.
And man, that just, as somebody who's been in the political world for a long time, that really struck home. However, people need to know about your background and how, what I say is, how is that going to help you when you're sitting there as a state senator? What are you going to draw from on your background that's going to help you?
Well, I've got a master's in business administration, so I've been running metal recycling centers for 37 years before I retired. So I know how to balance a budget. I know what it means. I know from my employees' experience, I know how things hurt families. Okay, so I've been married for 61 years.
God bless you.
And if that doesn't tell you I know how to get along with people and get things done, nothing will tell the folks.
More than 61 years of being married.
But, you know, I've got 5 kiddos, 9 grandkids, 4.5 great ones on the way.
Wow.
I've served for the community. I've been on the planning commissions. I've chaired them, zoning board of adjustments. I've been on utility boards. I've chaired those. I know how to get along with people. I know how committees work. I know how to help people. And I guarantee you, I'm 100% for helping people. I'm a lifetime NRA member.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely a former rancher. I raised our kids, teaching them how to work, raising cattle and hay while I worked on ranching was my side business.
Right.
I raised kids and worked to pay for that. You can't make.
So you've had a lot of leadership positions.
I've had a lot of
leadership positions.
I've been in management for ever since I was in the business.
Mm-hmm.
Back in, I guess when I first started in the business, I started out managing a little plant, and then it had to be closed because it was a contract. So they closed it down. They gave me an opportunity that I could go to Florida and be the assistant manager. I could go to Lubbock and be the manager. I didn't think about it. I said, I'm going to Florida because, you know, I want to help people, and you can't do that being number 2.
Right.
So I want to help. I want to help people, and I've got a lot of experience. I'm an outdoorsman. I put a lot of miles on a 4-wheeler riding in the mountains with my grandkids and my kids. So I'm a family man.
So you have a lot of appreciation of what the varied geography of Texas brings to people.
I've lived in Lubbock, Longview, El Paso, Beaumont, and now I'm here. So I've lived in all the corners of the state. So I have a little bit of understanding about what the farmers go through and what businessmen go through and what families go through. So I guarantee you, I've been around the block a few times, and I understand. I've had to, in 61 years, you got a lot of problems that go through that with families. I've had a lot of problems with business, so I know how to solve problems. And I know how to get things done.
Excellent.
That's the main thing.
Excellent. So one last question. This is the last one that we usually pose to the candidates. When that voter goes in that voting booth,
right,
and is going to cast their vote for Senate District 5, what do you want them to remember about you that will cause them to vote for you?
I want to help your family. That's the number one thing. And I promise you, you won't read about me in the paper with any problems. I'm running to help your family, not special interest, to help your family, reduce your tax burden, and help you as your family put more money in your family's pocket, and so that you have the ability to raise your family properly. And I guarantee you, I'm going to serve you. I'm going to be a full-time senator, not a part-time senator, but I'm going to be available to you every year that I'm in office. And I'm committing to that, and I'm committing to do what I say I'm going to do.
Well, thank you. We appreciate Larry coming in, and this is Larry Nance, who's running for Senate District 5 in the Texas Senate. Thank you very much. We
Thank you for
appreciate
having
you
me.
coming in.
Thank you for having me.
And we wish you luck. Thank
Yes,
you.
Thank you. Thank you.